So kind of same thing. We'll have this one too. So when you get this one, it's gonna come like this with a cap on it, kind of like this one is. You've got this cap on it right here, and like Chris just showed you, you had to kind of lock this one in. Whereas with this one, it'll come like this. So we'll get these packages that look like that, and we'll open it up.
The A-line, it's like A-line connector, but it's a ICP.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll go on there like that. And then we'll also hook up or here, we'll just use this, it's the same thing. So this will then be hooked up sterilely to this right here. And then the same thing for this one. It'll just be hooked up right here. Once again, sterilely. All right, and then kind of what he was talking about with flushing it. So what we'll do is we'll then get one of our sterile flush. You usually need two, or at least I bring two, because kind of like what he had said, it has air in it, and especially when you first push the plunger down, even if you do kind of aspirate the air out of it, the plunger still wants to give a little bit of air, plus there's air in the line. So with that,
and those are preservative free, so
yeah,
you just can't use what we have.
So like I said, sterilely, we're gonna take this off, and what we'll do, because this will come with caps, but they're vented caps, not the dead end caps. So we'll have this usually I'll already have this hooked up, but what we'll do is there's two different ways we need to prime the line, if you will. So we've got the one way is to go back up. Here, this is all jacked up.
Yeah, it's just not hooked up.
So, but I don't want to spray water everywhere. So what we would do is first we would prime this, and this would go down to the patient. But this is gonna be in I think it's gonna come like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna come wrapped up like this, taped in this bag just like this. So honestly, just keep it like that. This will be capped, and you can flush it, watch it go down the line. And then some of them it's a bag. This one's more of like a sleeve, but I think with this Codman one, it's more of a bag. And when you flush it, you can see the fluid will come out the bottom of it. And then once you do that, you can monitor your line and know that you are primed to the patient, because this part's going to screw in after they put the EVD into the patient. Then what we'll have to do, so we'll open our stopcock up so that the fluid goes down through this, and then we prime it all the way through, check, make sure there's no air, bubbles, whatever it may be. And then we'll flip our stopcock the other way, and we'll flush back up to the burette. So then that way we get all the air, whatever it may be, out of that tubing as well. So by doing that, we have our whole transducer. We've got this whole line to the patient and the line to the burette all primed and ready to go.
You want to be, so when you're priming it too, if you're holding it in something like this, hold that on this thing, up there. You want to make sure that when you're priming it,
Yeah, there you go.
that you have kind of a hold of this, so you can kind of watch this go through all the way to the end, because before it stops dripping, you want to turn this off, because if you run out of fluid, then a bunch of air is going to come in there. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to when water gets through here, you want to clamp it off immediately, and then you can flush towards the urethral, because you don't want a bunch of air getting in there, because if you leave it open, then just more air is going to come in, and then you're going to have to flush it all over again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So our surgical
Go ahead.
patients that have EVDs, though,
Mhm.
those lines are already going to be primed because they're already in. So say
They're
that
not.
they're not.
Because a lot of times, like when Son puts an EVD in from like a tumor patient, he will have me hook it up out here, and so they might not always be primed. Now, if it's a subarachnoid patient, then yeah, they will be primed because it's already been hooked up.
Right.
But there will be tumor patients that come out that have an EVD in that won't be primed.
Okay.
We can
But for
experiment.
one that's already in, if we needed to add the transducer, we would still need to prime it to the burette
Probably a good thing.
because it's
Yes.
already
Yes.
primed to the patient.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you can see, that's complicated,
Yeah.
so I prefer you all not do that.
What's
Okay.
complicated?
Making sure you're turning the stopcocks correctly, if it's connected to the patient, that you're not priming and
Yeah, that's
flushing
not
into
bad.
the patient.
That's hard. I was gonna push it down and then flush it
Yeah.
towards the burette. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. I think
Yeah.
most of the nurses in here are capable of doing that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, and I can show you again on this one too, because we actually this one's not broken. So kind of same idea, same setup. Get your flush, and then we'll flush it through, and then this will get hooked up right here, and then just like what we just talked about, we will. What's with this? This part is theoretically going to go to the patient, so we'll put the stopcock down, and we'll flush. And just like what Chris was saying, I'm gonna watch to see when the fluid starts coming out. And now it's dripping out, so I'm gonna stop. And this is usually, that's why I said I usually use 2 flushes. So after this, I usually take this off and get another one, just
All the air
because,
that's coming in there now.
yeah. Well, and that, yeah. But because this amount of fluid isn't gonna be able to prime all this without getting more air in there. So yeah, make sure you clamp it, and then get another saline flush, and then that's when we'll go and do the other way, and we'll prime it up and it'll go in there. So that's why it's good to grab that second one.
The only other thing I can think of is, so if we are transducing, will you talk a little bit about what that process looks like upstairs?
Yeah, so once we get that all set up, Chris puts the EVD in, he hooks it up to here, so then it's kind of like, all right, this is where we're gonna take over. He did his part, we're gonna do our part. So we've got this prime, that's the first step. The second step is gonna be hooking it up. So we'll have a pressure cable to hook it up here, and we'll get our pressure cable and hook it up to the back of here. And then so with this one, I guess, let's see here. We're gonna level it to the patient, and then we're gonna push these two together. We'll open the cap a little bit. We'll hit 0 on the machine, tighten the cap back up, straighten yourself back out, and then to read, we're gonna flip it up, and then that's when we'll then get our reading on the monitor, and you'll be able to see that waveform. Now, you guys aren't gonna have them as long, because the longer the EVD's in, or if something happens, you'll be able to tell. It'll be a dampened waveform or whatever it may be, or you're getting negative readings or whatever it may be. Then that's when we're like, oh, it might be clotted. We might need to call them again to get it TPA'd or whatever it may be. But hopefully you're getting them fresh, so you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about that, and we'll worry about it upstairs. So that would just be the initial setup of if you're getting, a couple hours worth of them. But like Chris said, if they ended up getting stuck down here or whatever it may be, it is nice to know that, oh, hey, I'm getting negative numbers. What is going on? Or whatever it may be. And then that's when you're doing your troubleshooting, make sure all your connections are good, it's draining properly, dropping it to the floor, all that good stuff. Because there might be something in the line that's just causing you to get an inaccurate reading that you just need to flush through the system, re-zero it all, and then it's working perfectly fine again.
now, would they maybe get a negative number because they've drained off a lot of
I was just
CFS?
about to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't
So
want
if you
them to
come
know that
out-
we could. see
Yeah,
that.
so a lot of times when the tumor patients come out, right, and they may not drain for hours, because we've already drained off a bunch of fluid in the OR. And so, usually I will tell you guys, or Son will tell you, hey, look, don't worry about whether there's CSF coming out for the next 4 or 5 hours. It's not a big deal because we've drained out a bunch of fluid in the OR. Or if you're getting negative numbers, that might be the reason as well. And then, you can clamp it until you get basically positive numbers. So that would be the scenario. And I will oftentimes tell the nurses that, we'll just keep it clamped until you're starting to get positive readings.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for you guys too is if you have somebody that's in here overnight is just use your ICU staff, right? So, call the charge nurse tonight if you got a problem, or if you need help setting it up. Because your guys are going to be doing it so infrequently that I think just phoning a friend and having somebody to help will probably be useful.